Welcome to Stop My Crisis. I'm your host, Vivian Gaspar, and we're here today to talk about something that you may not realize actually has been contributing if you're experiencing a financial crisis, or maybe your life's crises could make easier if you had more money. Did you think about how a correlation of maybe your self-esteem not being as high as it should be in order to get more money? If you're a salaried person, did you think about the last time you got a raise and it wasn't where you thought it should be, but you were just too hesitant to speak up and ask for more money? What about if you're a commissioned salesperson or self-employed? If you had more belief in yourself, you know you'd make more money, right? I have actually a really interesting guest today, someone who could cross those T's, dot the I's, and help us to understand the correlation between higher self-esteem and making more money. Michelle Nagel is America's #1 resilience expert. She is the author of the best-selling book, Suffering is Optional, Step Out of Darkness and Into the Light. A resilient survivor of child abuse, Michelle struggled mightily with negative programming around money. When she learned how to rewrite the programming on her wall, everything changed. What wall? We'll find out. And for the past 15 years, Michelle has been conducting seminars and workshops and providing tools to help people overcome their limiting beliefs and live the life of their dreams. Michelle, thank you so much for coming into our studios. And I would love to help our audience understand, if you could explain to us, please, what is the correlation between one's self-esteem and one's earning power, what they could actually bring into their household to help their families with making more money to make life easier, more comfortable, or just stop a financial crisis?
Well, many people think that money and self-esteem have absolutely nothing to do with each other.
Is that a head scratcher for a lot of people?
It is, yes, because logically they seem to make no sense. But the way that you were raised and the way you feel about yourself has absolutely everything to do with how you look at earning money at this point on. So the difference between self-esteem and self-worth is the way we feel about based on how everybody else responds to us. But our self-worth is like, if you were a $20 bill, you'd be a $20 bill no matter what. And you may have been used for some, really bad purchases or some really bad things, but you'd still be worth $20. And that's what we're like, because we're people, because we're human, because we're so unique, each one of us, that is our value.
So when someone suffers from a lower self-esteem, how precisely could they make those changes to actually make more money to help their family?
Well, if you think about it, there's programming that is given us, like you mentioned, the wall.
What does that mean, a wall?
Well, when you're born, you have this completely blank slate that all of the people who are important start writing their beliefs and expectations for.
Like your parents.
Like your parents.
Right.
And if you heard things like rich people are crooks, or especially money is the root of all evil, that's a really big one. If you heard those kinds of things repeatedly over and over in your life, or perhaps if your mom saw a Mercedes go by and grumbled at those rich people that had that Mercedes, or whatever it happened to be, then those are the kind of beliefs that you garnered about money. So it's still back there because it's your programming.
Does that make people shy away from wanting to have more? Because if they were told when they were very young that people who have more might not be good people, and they always want to be good people, they subconsciously limit themselves from making enough to have more. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. Also, what they do is they have these beliefs that maybe, because everybody wants more money, we all do. So we will go ahead and we'll get more money. But that programming is still there on the wall. And so what you will do is you will self-sabotage. You'll find a way to lose it all. Somehow you'll spend it on you'll spend the money on things that you don't really need. You might want to buy a bed, and instead of buying just a bed that's nice and comfortable, you've got to have the $5,000 version of the bed.
Unnecessarily. Is that kind of like the I've heard so many stories where lottery winners, actually lose all their money.
Yes.
They always wish to win the lottery. The next thing you know, they somehow squander the winnings and they're broke again. Is that into those belief systems?
It does many times. Those people are from lower income brackets. They've come through this situational and generational poverty. Then they get this outstanding wealth and they're uncomfortable with it because it's not in their head. It's not in their mindset.
So just give me 2 interesting facts about money. Before you came on to our set today, you mentioned, if you could tell me that little story, about someone you met on the plane ride over.
I met an attorney who said that he had just won a very large claim against Walmart.
Oh, that's interesting. You don't hear that every day.
No. And he said it was a substantial amount of money. And he said, it was gone within a year.
Wow.
And he said, I don't understand. And so I said, tell me about your childhood.
Yeah.
And he said, well, my parents didn't like rich people. They'd always say that they were bad people. And I said, that's your problem right there. You will self-sabotage until you get rid of that belief.
You know what I always like to say, to have gratitude for what you have, and if you have more, you must share it. Because I always understood that money is not just money. It's called currency for a reason. If it becomes stagnant, it's not being a current. So, for example, yesterday, when I went to the supermarket, you have the little coupons for giving to the food bank.
Yes.
I make it a person, whether you have the little slot of $1, $3, $5. I was with my daughter. I took off the $3 one. I said, that's not good enough. I took another $3 one, as I'm at the store almost every day. It's just about making sure that when you're grateful, I think you should keep giving. So I think that helps dispel negative feelings about people with money if you have this kind of feeling of gratitude. Is that how it really works?
They're called streams of income for a reason.
Yeah,
and
I think
when you dam it up by hanging on to it desperately, then it slips through your fingers. And it's like if you get soap wet and you try to squeeze it, what is the soap going to do? It's going to shoot all over the place. And so if you keep it in a stream form and you do be generous with it, the more generous you are, the more will come back to you.
So you open the doors for more to come to you through whatever means.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to just give us 2 examples of how could you figure out if you have limiting beliefs and what you could do to change those beliefs so you could get more attractive than money. And let's face it, normally life is a lot easier when you have more money.
Yes. If you write down everything that you've ever heard about money, whatever your parents ever said, whatever your friends ever said, write it all down. Write it so you can see it in black and white. And then write down underneath it what you believe. Use these words. When I have this much money, I'll be what? Or I'll have what? Or I'll feel what? And when the feelings and the beliefs are the most important things around money.
Got it. So one last takeaway for our audience who probably wants more money. What do you think is the easiest, most powerful way they could change this, besides call you for a consultation?
I would have them tap.
What is tapping? Besides, or is that knocking?
It is, except that's knocking. It's tapping on your body. And
where, on your knees? Where can you tap on your arms?
You start up here. So you would say, even though I have this belief about money, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I have this belief about money, I deeply and completely accept myself.
What does that mean? What does the tapping do for someone?
It's called emotional acupressure.
Oh.
And what it does is it actually will release the restrictions that are in your cells. So there are shortcuts though. When I get anxious or upset about something, I just tap right here on my collarbone.
Interesting. I have never actually heard of this. Is this part of that neuro-linguistic programming I've heard of? I didn't know if that has any connection.
It's called the emotion freedom technique.
So it's not related to that.
It is related to
it. Is
they're all kind of integral and related to each other.
Interesting. I think I don't know how many people have heard of that, but this is my first time. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Well, I think this is a fabulous way. Michelle, thank you for coming on to explain this to our audience. And for everyone who thinks to themselves, if I could just stop this tragedy I'm going through because of lack of money, let's take a look within and see how we can reinvest in ourselves, not financially, but changing our personal belief systems and mindset And that might actually make a big difference. And you might think it sounds hokey. Give it a chance, give it a try. And let's remember what the definition of insanity is. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Let's do something different to get those different results. Welcome back to Stop My Crisis. I'm your host, Vivian Gaspar, and I'm here to help you with your mental state today. How many times have you had a discussion with a friend or any relative? It could be your child, an adult child, or even your parents, and you feel yourself feeling just a little emotionally drained after dealing with them. You almost feel like you want to take a nap afterwards to recover. There's actually a term for that, emotional vampire. Yeah, you heard me right. That's what I mean by feeling drained. And I'm here today to bring an expert to help us learn to deal with that. Remember, you can never control someone else's actions, just how you react to them. Michelle Nagel is our guest today on this very topic, and Michelle Nagel is America's #1 resilience expert. She is an author of the book, Suffering is Optional, Step Out of the Darkness and Into the Light. And Michelle is also, interestingly, a certified Jack Canfield Success Principles trainer. I never knew that was a thing. It's great. She is also the president of Soul Shift, Inc. For the past 15 years, she has been conducting seminars and workshops and providing tools to help people overcome their limiting beliefs and live the life of their dreams. I think so many people need that. Michelle, welcome to the show. And this seems to be an unusually interesting topic that maybe people didn't even know existed. Tell me, what is an emotional vampire?
An emotional vampire is those people in your life that when you spend time with them, they just absolutely suck everything out of you. So that by the time you're done, you feel like you just got to drag yourself out the door again because you have no energy left and they have taken all your joy.
And that is, I think, a very big component for people to remember. Because remember, as much as so many people are in survival mode, that's why they tuned into watching Stop My Crisis, life has to be more about surviving a crisis. It has to be ways of finding to live a little happier, a little bit more joyful.
Right.
But if someone is an emotional vampire in your life, do you necessarily have to cut them out of your life to regain your energy?
Well, it depends on how important that person is to you. And it also depends on what's the circumstance in which you are engaged with them? Like, are you at work or is it a relative? You can't usually cut those out. But, actually when somebody takes all of your energy and all of everything out of you, it lowers your immune system.
Wow.
And it can actually make you ill.
So you're saying what you'd think is just a little of an exhausting experience interacting with someone can actually make you ill?
Yes.
There's actually a physical component to this?
Yeah, it lowers your immune system so that you're more susceptible to illnesses. So if you work around somebody like that, do you find that you're sick more often? That you catch every bug that comes along?
I actually had some people in my life, and unfortunately they were friends that I had been friends with for quite some time. But I gradually pulled myself out of those relationships simply to be a better human being for my family, my children, and to grow as a person. Of course, I'm always looking to ways to improve myself, but I want to know, what is a couple of facts you could provide to me about emotional vampires?
Well, again, an emotional vampire can be anybody, and they, when you allow them to take that away from you so that you end up being ill, then obviously you can't be the kind of person that you want to be. And if you're spending all of your time in triage, like recovering from having spent time with that individual, then that takes the energy that you could use for something else. So if you were trying to, do something creative or something happy, you have to spend that time recharging your own batteries just so you can do that. So sometimes you have to make the determination, as you did, as to whether or not those people are worth keeping in your life. And I know that it sounds really horrible, but if it's a relative and you love them, you can say, this is what I need from you. Will you please try to think of happy things?
Wow, that's a great idea. Tell me, that's one idea. What are 5 ways to deal with emotional vampires?
Well, the first one is that you set your boundaries. What you will and what you will not take from them, what will or will not listen to. And then if you want to continue, as I said, you say, this is what I need from you. Please be happy. Please say something positive. And as an example, this works really well, is if somebody comes to you, and my daughter did this once many years ago. She came and she would offload everything, and it was just so draining. And it was affecting my health, and I would think my daughter is coming home. Oh no! So when she would come home, then I decided that what I would let her do is she needed to have that validation. She needed somebody to listen to her. That was important. So she would tell me 3 things, and I would count 1, 2, 3, and then I'd go stop.
Oh.
And I'd say, now tell me something good. And she said, well, I didn't get run over by a car today. And I'm going, good, I'm glad, thank you. And
that's creative, actually.
And now she went on, and I said, now go ahead. And she told me 3 more, and I counted 1, 2, 3. And then I said, stop, tell me something good. And I did that consistently with her so that she began to look for good things. And then when she found good things in her day, and I forgot to ask or tell her to stop, then I knew that she was well on her way to being a positive and a happy person. So it is possible to correct that in people. And
so
also,
wait, so let me ask you this.
Yes.
Does that mean you're kind of secretly training your emotional vampire who's a close person to you to be less so, or perhaps stop?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Because when we think positive things, then we begin to be a much more positive person. When we program ourselves, I'm going to look for positive things, then when you start finding them, then you just find yourself much happier. All the endorphins are coming up, and then you start feeling better about things, and life just looks so much better. And you can train somebody, especially if they're a child, you can train them to look for the good in life.
And when you say child, you don't necessarily mean someone who's only 10 years old or 12 years old. You can even mean an adult child. If your child was 18, 20, 25, 30 years old, you can help them through this. And you're a coach, right? You can help people with this?
Yes.
Oh, good. So
yes.
This isn't just hear it here once and then there's nothing else to do.
Right.
So is there any other ways left where we're counting on how to deal with an emotional vampire?
Yeah, if you have been with somebody who is negative, and you felt yourself being just kind of drained from them, then it's really important that you recharge your batteries. So I would suggest that you put on the music, turn it up really loud, your favorite songs, sing, dance.
How about that one?
Do something really energetic. Go do a class for, Zumba, however you say it. Zumba. Go do that class. Or something that pumps up your energy again, so that you can avoid becoming sick, and so that you will have the energy that you need to be able to do what you want to do.
You know what just came into my mind?
What?
Remember Tom Cruise in Risky Business, who's dancing across the floor in his underwear and a shirt?
Yes.
Acting crazy by themselves?
Yes.
I think people should do that more often.
Absolutely.
That
I
sounds
agree.
great when you're just acting a little crazy.
Yeah.
Doesn't that actually have some physical benefits?
Yes, it does. Within reason, of course.
Yes.
Don't
Nobody's home, right? It's okay.
Yes, exactly. At home, in your own home, that's fine.
Yeah, just let's keep the exhibitionism to a minimal.
Yes.
But it helps the endorphins. It helps you recover.
Yes.
And you know what? I'm sure you could share tips if someone to give you a call on how you could perhaps transform a child you want to stay close to, or a spouse that just might be a little too negative, and they might disguise it by saying, oh, thank you for letting me vent. And you keep thinking, stop venting already.
Yes, exactly. So if you do the trick with the stop, with the 3 things, and then if it is a spouse, and it's important to you to maintain that relationship, then find something that you both enjoy doing together. Maybe you should do the dancing together.
Oh, that sounds like a really fun way to handle it. And I know this might seem trivial to some people, but there has to be more people out there than not who have this kind of a person in their life, and unfortunately a lot of times they can't cut them out. And when you're feeling yourself drained and you can't be as productive, maybe get forms taken care of the things that you have to do or making money, it's going to be a real problem that leads to more crisis in people's life, because unfortunately there's so many different things that lead to crisis. So Michelle, I think this is a fantastic another segue into a different type of crisis management. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you very much, Vivian.